Welcome to the 21st century. Is your marketing in line with the year 2020? Or is it still literally in the last century? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today. So what I've had to do, being in business for 34 years, is I've had to adapt. I had to adapt from the first technology 34 years ago was the fax machine, all the way up to today where everything is electronic, everything is connected, and there's different ways to market yourself now, one of those being social media marketing. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Really specifically Facebook, Instagram, not so much Snapchat, not so much all the others, but really the predominant ones. That's for the demographic that I actually sell in. So we've been doing social media marketing for a few years now, probably for about 5 or 6 years. But I really started to hone in on it in the last few years. I hired a specialist consultant that works with me and my company to really hone in the way we're doing our social media marketing, really specifically Instagram and Facebook, because that fits the demographic of the client that I'm going after, whether they be a buyer or whether they be a seller. So what I decided to do was kind of separate buyers and sellers. So I'd probably do 3 or 4 seller videos to 1 buyer video, because at the end of the day I want to attract sellers more than I do buyers, even though buyers are obviously half of the process. So what I started to do was a video every single week for a buyer or for a seller, and just a little tip that they could take home with them, and it would help them in their pursuit of either finding an agent to list a house or work with an agent to buy a house. So some of the topics that I've now addressed in those videos, one of the ones I got the best response was, how low can I make an offer? So as a buyer, if a property is listed here, how low can you make an offer where you still engage the seller in a negotiation? Because as a buyer, your offer has to be presented to the seller in such a way that it communicates to the seller that you want to buy the property. But if that offer is too low, seller's just going to reject your offer and not engage in a counter offer. So what's that figure where you can still negotiate, but you're not so low where you disengage the seller? That was one of my most popular videos. Another one that was really popular is how to get a real estate agent to tell you the truth on pricing. So obviously specifically aimed towards a seller getting a listing. One of the problems sellers have is if they're interviewing 2 or 3 agents, the price that agent's going to tell them will probably change because the agent will think the previous agent told them a higher price to get the listing, and before you know it, it's done this and it's unrealistic. So as a seller, how do you get the agent to tell you the truth? And I gave a couple of techniques that a seller can do to get the agent to tell you the truth. I won't go into those right now, but that was also a really popular video. Another one that was interesting because I've been on both sides of this fence, was who do you choose to sell your house? A big multinational franchise or a boutique office? And I talked about the advantages of a big franchise and the advantages of a boutique. I talked about how I started with a big franchise working for them, then I owned 3 or 4 offices in a franchise, and then I started a boutique office. So I talked to the seller in the video about the advantages of both and what's their best choice for today's market. And then apart from every single week a tip for a buyer or seller, once a month I do a market update. And that market update is a general update. Hey, here's what the market was, here's what it is, and here's where I think it's going. And it was a relatively quick market update, and it was designed to go into someone's Facebook feed or their Instagram feed. So that was another really important video. So again, once a week, just a tip for a buyer or seller, and then once a month, the market update. And what's interesting is I used to do all of this anyway, but I used to do it in print or an email type of form. In the old days, it was in print form that was delivered. Then it kind of morphed to email. Maybe it was an HTML email. But now I've morphed it into videos all the time. I think video is really the way that we're going at the moment until, hologram type images are popular, which one day that might be the case. But right now, the videos seem to work really well. But there's a lot of criteria that you have to fit into to make sure that it works. I mentioned this earlier, but we have hired a specialist, and maybe that's cost prohibitive for you now, so you can easily find out how to do it yourself, but we actually hired a specialist for that social media marketing, and I send the videos to them once a week, and then he does any adjustments to it that he wants to. We always put in subtitles. The name of the company that does the subtitles has slipped my mind, but it's a company that they all use. put subtitles in everywhere, so on your feed when the person watches it, they don't have to actually listen to it, they can just read the subtitles. So that's also worked really well. But again, it's a specialist just doing that for us 24/7. But you can do it yourself, it just takes a little bit more time. The other thing that my social media guy told me is I need to have a compelling statement or question at the start of the video. What he noticed was that my watch time was dropping off fairly quickly. In other words, people weren't staying for the whole video, and that meant my opening 10 seconds was not compelling enough. So what he told me to do was to make it more compelling. In my last video, my opening statement was, men, when you go shopping for dishwashing liquid, does it confuse you when you stand looking at the shelf? If the answer is yes, keep watching. Now that video went out to sellers, but that opening statement caused a lot of attention. Now eventually I went on to talk about sellers in the absence of seeing value in a real estate agent. They think they're all the same. It's like shopping for dishwashing liquid. They put you on a shelf as a commodity and then pick the one that's packaged a little bit nicer and then compare the prices. So that was the idea of that opening statement. It caused people to go, what the heck is he even talking about? And our watch time increased dramatically just from that opening statement. Next thing that's important is keep it short. My first videos I started doing were 6, 7, 8 minutes, way too long. Now my videos, my once a week video to buyers or sellers, no more than 2 minutes. It's quick in with a question, quick content, and then I'm out. So no more, 1.5 to 2 minutes max, do not go beyond that. Now, for my market watch, I actually do 2 videos. I do a short little 2-minute one that ends up in an Instagram or Facebook feed, and then I do a longer 5, 6 or 7-minute one, which is designed to go out to my clients in my database. So they're people that I'm chasing to get a listing or I'm chasing as a buyer. So again, 2 different videos on the market watch, a short one for for Facebook and Instagram feed, and a longer one for the clients in my database management system that I'm chasing up. And that's it for now. This actual video could literally go for an hour, and I could have my social media guy in here sitting. We could be asking questions, and maybe I'll do that in a video down the line a little bit. But that's it for now. Please like, subscribe, hit the bell if you want to be reminded for the next video, and go out there and sell something.